Well, I would play Twisted Sisters. We're not going to take it here if there wasn't a threat of copyright infringement, but you demanded, you protested, and we are back for a bonus show episode of Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, I'm sure there's people who absolutely hated that.
We're not gonna take it. No, we're not gonna take it.
So yeah, I think this is like the most comments we've ever had was about the cutting of the after show. So I reached out to the higher ups after discussing with Justin, and we can go long if it is a mailbag, which we discussed on Fridays, and then we can do the 6 show. So this is going to be kind of more of a after dark smooth cut show. You're going to see kind of some behind the scenes in a way. Oh wait, we didn't record these back to back. Let me switch my hat so it looks like I actually no, see, it's different if you're watching on YouTube. I have a different hat on.
I haven't moved.
There we go. But we're also going to be doing some post-production on the show. So if you're watching, you'll get to see some of that. But we, as you've seen, we're just chomping at the bit to talk. So when one of us is talking, the other one's going to do post-production on show 1. And thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever you get podcasts. We cover your team every day. I'm Jeff Ellis. If you don't know me, I'm just going to do all the things that annoy people. I'm done. Let's dive into the questions we got, Justin.
Yeah. All right. So this is a leftover question from the mailbag, but we were going to address it anyway from Friday. But so MLB Pipeline had their top 30 come out for the Guardians, and look, they asked us for some thoughts and some how we might differ on things that how they do their rankings. And I think you've said before, they do an impossible job. It's 2 guys, it's 3. I think they have 3 or 4 people actually who contribute, but it's really the work of 2 for the most part. It's Jonathan Mayo and Jim Callis. They're great guys. They do a hard job, and they also do the draft, which is so hard. Let me tell you, Jeff, I know I'm already going off on a tangent here. I'm doing my best to put together a Cleveland Guardians draft watch list. It's very rudimentary so far, but I'm trying to do that while I'm writing prospect scouting reports to start the season, which I'm way behind on, and I'm going to do that while I'm doing minor league coverage this year. Doing the draft and prospects that are already in the major league or the minor leagues is really hard. So the fact they do both is really hard. And I don't know what their ranking methodology is. Like, I think you could see they probably get a lot of input from the teams and the industry to try
and
to
their friends.
They're and their friends. And I know Baseball America says like they try to reflect the industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pipeline tries to do their best to reflect what teams are thinking. But I think when you have the influence of teams input on this, they're going to ask you to push prospects up that they want to have higher standing, even though it doesn't actually matter because like every team has their own guys out there. They don't care what people think about your prospects. They're going to have their own opinions about their prospects. So
can I interrupt you? Can I throw a fun Ohio draft prospect at people if they get a chance to see any Mac stuff? Ryland Zabrowski from University of Miami is turning heads in the early going. 6'5", 220. Left fielder, third baseman, first baseman. Was at Yavapai, one of the premier JUCOs. Grand Canyon University before that. Has bounced around a little bit. He won't turn 21 until May 13th, so he does fit that Guardians approach. Very raw. Big right-handed power. It's early goings, but he has a 382 batting, 447 on-base percentage, and 941 slugging. So check out Ryland at Miami of Ohio. Is it Isaiah Couplet? No, that's not his name. The starting pitcher from Ohio State is also getting a lot of attention. That is Isaiah Couplet.
Couplet. I can't remember.
But right now, those are 2 of the guys I'm hearing the most buzz about. So, but I thought I'd throw out this guy because who doesn't want to hear about a 6'5" power hitting right-handed guy who won't turn 21 until May.
Okay, well maybe he'll be on the Guardians top 30 next year because that's one of the things you and I talked about a lot.
This list,
yeah, like
we like Angel Janau, but he is up there because he was a pretty big bonus baby.
He was. Espino's number one. Obviously, they are not changing that based off the shoulder injury, which, we had already said we baked in the injury history into our ranking of Daniel Espino before we heard this news. Like, that's why we had Tanner Bybee number one above both Williams and Espino. He's both of our top prospects individually. So we baked Espino's injury history into that before we heard that news. I just think that Bybee is more polished than Williams, and I think, like, is Bybee's ceiling an ace? Like, I think Gavin Williams' ceiling is probably not quite an ace.
I think they're both ace. I'm willing to say that I think that they're like, because I don't know. I guess to me, like, can they both be top 10 pitchers in the American League? I think so. I think they could be top 10 to top 15 pitcher types. Like, Gavin Williams' stuff is absolutely sickening. Like, it's going to be, like, we heard Andre talk about it. Like, he was more talking about Williams than Bybee, but he was super impressed with both. And Espino trumps both of them if he can be healthy. It's just gives me, I know everyone's so worried about injuries, and I understand, because we talked about how many times the great John Sickles, like, that's the number one thing that's going to kill pitching. Man, that could be a fun rotation. Just take a second and think about a healthy those three for the next 5 to 6 years. Maybe you extend 1 to 2 of them and then have them for a decade. It's like,
start talking about those contracts like now. But
give me Evan White. Yeah. Even though it hasn't worked out.
Outside of just looking at their list, and again, I'm not criticizing the work they do, because these guys do a ton of work, and like you said, it's an impossible job. Like, I think they're pretty. Well, I'm pretty even on a lot of them. Like, they have Chourio really high, which I am a little bit lower. He's obviously got a lot of S and helium already, and
Jake Fox stood out as the high guy.
Yeah, Jake Fox being that high is certainly interesting. Not above Justin Campbell for me, because I think the likelihood of Justin Campbell turning into the next top 100 pitcher on the Guardians is a lot higher than Fox. And
Cody Morris's felt like that was a reaction.
Which, that's fair. I mean, is it lower than we were? Absolutely, it's lower than we were. But
in fairness,
understand the reactionary.
He's probably not 7 if I got to wait. Like, I'm probably moving him. It's like, I think Cantillo's a little low for me. Especially again.
That's probably also health related though too. No.
Yeah.
Tanner Burns. Look, Tanner Burns in the top 30 just ain't it for me. Tanner Burns is a reliever, and look, he could be a decent reliever.
But here's the route
to go with him.
Tanner Burns.
Not the kind of reliever I'm putting in the top 30.
First round, Doug Nikhazy, second round, and that's why those two are on this list.
Let's be honest. And then you have like Jacob Zibin in there, who was a draft pick last year, and
who got a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's fine, because you want to know what, and I'm going to get to this later. There was a comment in the Baseball Prospectus Annual that I read that I just got today, which I was super excited to get. I love those guys, and I love that book every year. There was a good comment in there I want to bring up later. It's still too high for Parker Messick to me, because I'm not one to talk, but I need to see Parker Messick be in pitching shape. I don't know how to
I had him higher, if it makes I had him at 18 on mine. So
okay, yeah, a little high for me. Yeah. What do you think about Wilfredo Antunes in the top 30? That's an interesting one, right?
That, you know what that is? That is, so
it's got to be in inside sources, because
but
nobody has seen this kid except for people who have been in Arizona.
What this sometimes reminds me of is back in the day when I used to like listen to NFL draft podcasts, and there weren't a lot of them. Basically, someone called out Mel Kiper on doing something similar to this, which is he would intentionally put guys at the back end of his first round mocks throughout the year that weren't going to go there, just so like he could say, well, later on, well, I had him in a mock. And this, it's this idea of like, you can, so they can be like, I mean, because here's the thing, legitimately in a year, I wouldn't be shocked if he was 9th in the system. Like, I wouldn't. Like, he could have that type of year. There's a lot of people who really love him, but you put him at 30 because the ceiling is like that, with the knowledge that if he falls off from the late 20s, no one's going to say anything, right? Like, no one's going to, but if he jumps up, you had him. It's, and there are people that like him a lot. I think Fangraphs also had him top 30. But
Fangraph,
the one graph that they have.
They have one graph now. They have many graphs.
No, just one graph now. So yeah, it's and again, like I said, it's an impossible job, but I get, like, if you want to bet on ceiling, then you definitely put him in the top 30.
Yeah, he's interesting. Obviously that's going to be whatever they got from scouts who have seen him and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. We'll see. He only played one game that wasn't in, or like a couple games that weren't in Arizona last year. I feel like that's pretty fair on Noel. It's pretty good on, it's about where I had Petey and Brito, Justin Boyd in the top 30. I think that's super interesting. Milan Tolentino in the top 30. That feels a little aggressive to me. I guess if you really feel like he is going to stick at shortstop, I have no idea what the bat's going to look like. He was good at Lynchburg last year, but he struck out a ton at Lake County, so I have some concerns. But I would say Tolentino, Burns, and Fox are probably my only like real disagreements. I don't have any problem with keeping Espino number one. Truthfully, like that is what it is. So, anything else your takeaways from?
See, I mean, it was, I've got mine up on one screen and then theirs up on the other. I think, yeah, I mean, I can get it to a degree with Nkezi, but like Burns at 22, I just don't understand. And they're not alone in this. We've had a few other people bring up Burns as this breakout guy. My problem is Tanner Burns really, like, I don't want to bury anyone. And I feel like we've been so negative with him, but like, he hasn't been good since he's been drafted. He's had some injuries. His stuff is backed up. For a guy who was kind of more mid-90s in college, he's low 90s now.
Well, he's got to do it every 5 days. That's the question.
Yeah, and even in college, he
had a hard time doing it once a week in college, and he didn't stay healthy. So that's the concern. And you want to know what, Jeff? By the end of the season, he won't even be the best Burns in the Guardians organization. If you didn't hear Friday's episode, you have to go back and find out what that means.
Because they're going to draft Chase Burns, but he can't be drafted for another year.
Oh, I would love to draft Chase Burns right now. Let's
Chase Burns. Chase Burns,
right
Tennessee,
now.
Tennessee, right?
Texas.
He's at Texas.
No, Tennessee. You're right.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Wrong orange color.
Wrong TE.
Yeah, wrong T, wrong orange color. All right. More questions and more bonus topics on the other side.
Oh, but first, let's talk about our good friends over at BuiltBar.com. You know them, you love them. If you don't know them, well, then I feel sad for you, son. Because I have 99 problems, but a Built Bar ain't one. Because they're delicious. I like them. My students like them. They'll fill you up. They'll give you protein, but they don't give you sugar. They don't give you junk. They'll just give you energy for the day. Quick, easy. Now, I have bought other competitors, being someone who's gluten intolerant. I've tried a lot of protein bars as like a nice snack during the day, and a lot of them I felt like my jaw was going to break when I would chew through them. I would buy a box and I wouldn't finish that box off. I tried to give those to students. No one would take them. These ones I love. I've been eating them for 4 years now. My students enjoy them when I'm willing to share. And you can get them right now at Sam's Club or Walmart in the pharmacy sections. You can go to BuiltBar.com, use the promo code LOCK15 to save 15%. I say from their special ones, I know they're not gluten-free. I didn't realize that the first time I ate one and paid the price, but the grasshopper cookie is worth getting sick for. I will throw that out there. So go check that one out if you want to try one of their limited brands. That is BuiltBar.com, promo code LOCK15, or head to Walmart or Sam's Club today. And so you get fun little things like that when you check out the after show, the bonus show.
All right, a couple more questions. I told our good friend Chuck over at the At the Corner podcast, which, by the way, you can hear me on. I was on with them on Sunday this past week. Had a good time. Their host, Zach, was under threat of a tornado when he was recording, and he literally got out of there just before there was a warning. So that man was recording a podcast under the threat of death. That is some serious dedication. So you can go over there and listen to me on there as well. That was Sunday was fun, by the way. Sunday I did their podcast, and then you and I recorded our podcast right after that podcast. And then we had Andre on Sunday night, and that podcast was so long that it was basically 2 podcasts. So I essentially did 4 podcasts on Sunday. And how many times can I say podcast in one story?
In one podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm not going to say it again. Chuck, his next question was, who are your top 5 prospects after the season is over? So that means who's graduated, who has been traded, who has fallen, who are your top 5 prospects in October?
Gavin Williams, Brian Rocchio, Angel Martinez, Joey Cantillo, and Jason Churio.
Top 5 prospects. All right, yeah. Bo Naylor's going to lose his prospect eligibility. I'm going to say Daniel Espino is not going to lose his prospect.
Yeah, I guess instead of Churio, I'll say Espino. He's not going to lose his.
Yeah, I'm going to keep Espino in my top 5. And this is not in any given order. I'm going to keep Valera in my top 5. I think between the injury this year and Will Brennan and Oscar Gonzalez and I don't know, whatever else they decide to do, I think he won't blow his prospect eligibility in 2023. So I'm going to stick with Espino and Valera in the top 10.
What about Williams?
I'll stick with Williams. That's 3. Yeah, I'll stick with Williams in the top 5. I'll go Churio top 5. So that's 4. And then
so now do you go Campbell? You go
Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez is going to be in there.
Yeah. Well, and that and why Bibee isn't in there is because I think he will lose his prospect eligibility by this year. All right. Chuck's second question. Name the Guardians rotation next season. Kind of did that on Friday's show, but all right, Jeff, who is your Guardians rotation next season?
McKenzie, Bibee, Quantrell, Savali, Allen. I know in the last show I was like, well, you can't necessarily count on 2, but why am I going with 2 now and it's not even an hour later? Because you're not going to run everyone out. Like, listen, we're going to trade Bieber, and the next year Savale and Plesac are going to start getting more expensive. So I think one of them go at the end of the year, and then they run a rook.
Yeah. McKenzie. No. Corbin Burns. They're going to trade for Corbin Burns. They are going to trade Shane Bieber, and they're going to hang on to one of them. It's going to be Corbin Burns.
You're going to be so sad when he gets traded to, like, the Yankees.
The Dodgers. Let's be honest, the Dodgers. Corbin Burns, Tristan McKenzie, Tanner Bibee, Cal Quantrill, Aaron Savali. I'll say they hang on to Savali. No Plesac, no Bieber. That's sad. But, oh well. Ryan, who asked us the pipeline question, he asked us, he left a comment on YouTube. It wasn't really a question, but he left a comment. He just said, talk about Micah Pries. I almost said Michael. My fiance thinks that Micah Pries is Mike Caprice, like Mike, then Caprice, like the pant, when she heard that name the first time. So
Mike Pries.
Yes, that's what happens when I watch baseball with her. And then she wanted to know if he wears his pants high like Carlos Santana. You know, Carlos Santana had the high knee pants.
I think when he makes his MLB debut, you should wear some capris that day on the show. That should be the.
I will not. I'm sure she can. I don't know. So we're gonna talk about Micah Pries. I don't know. He's had a interesting spring so far. I mean, he's not in anybody's top 30 anywhere except for ours. Like, where did you end up having on your top 30?
Did he come in at 30 or 31?
I think I had him like, yeah, he is top 30 adjacent. If he's not like 29 or 28, he's like 32.
He's 31 for me. Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go.
And back. I know you didn't agree with me, and yeah, you're right. David Fry is the more logical.
I never agree with you, Jeff. Never.
Hey, we had a disagreement. It's good for the show. And David Fry. I don't know why I was having some confusion there because it's late, or because we already recorded. But Fry is the most likely guy to debut. But I still would not be shocked to see Micah Pries in a Will Benson-esque role as that like guy who can cover multiple positions, provide some speed, and be, a better.
I had him 29, by the way.
But kind of like what we're talking Roman Quinn being, but like with a younger player with some power and some more. Maybe not as strong as a defender or as strong of an arm, but can do a little bit more. I still think, he's got I'm not going to shut the door on him being a regular either yet. So,
yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it before, but he is a late bloomer in terms of where he came from in college.
In health,
he is a late bloomer in terms of he was a late bloomer physically. From high school, he was pretty, I don't want to say scrawny is the right word, but he was scrawny. He was under recruited. But he has a strong baseball bloodline. His grandfather, not his uncle, his grandfather started the MLB Scouting Bureau or was one of the first guys in the MLB Scouting Bureau. He worked for the Orioles. His dad got drafted by the Yankees. His brother was drafted by the Yankees, just retired this past offseason. So great baseball lineage. Played center field in college. He's kind of filled out since college. So we haven't seen him in center field, so I really can't speak to saying like, hey, he could still play center. I think probably what you're saying makes sense in that extra role. But here's the thing for me. Benson could play center. Benson had a huge arm, and he had better speed. Like, Pries is kind of the cut down version of Benson where he doesn't maybe run. He's still a good runner, but he's not an elite runner or, I don't know, plus runner like Benson. Doesn't have Benson's arm, but he obviously strikes out a lot less, and he might be able to handle left-handed pitching. So Pries does those things a little bit better. I don't know. I don't know if you can put him in center. I haven't seen him in center, so it's hard for me to say. I know he can play left. I did hear from one of the friends of the show that he was a pitcher in high school and he could really pitch, but he had Tommy John, and I don't know if his arm has ever been the same since then. We haven't seen him in right field. But I think it's interesting that he has made a lot of starts this spring at first base, and he's played some left field the other day. Like, is he getting at bats because their only first basemen in camp are Naylor, Bell, and Noel, even though they played Noel a lot in the outfield?
Well, it's new for him to play first base.
I will not comment further on that comment. That's all I'm going to say.
If you can't see if the audio, I'm laughing. Yes, I know that's not a true statement.
Is he getting opportunities because they lack first baseman? I don't know. The fact that he got a non-roster invite says both. I think they think that he deserved it, and B, they also needed extra bodies at first base. But they could have invited a number of guys to do that. Yeah. They could have. I mean, Joe Morano could have got an NRI. I
think it's a positive.
Absolutely a positive. I think it's a reward for last season for how well he did, and the fact that he was Rule 5 eligible and they didn't protect him and he didn't get taken. But I think he's on the radar. He's just a very below the radar kind of guy right
reps now. Too. Like, just like, you talked about due to when he came in and everything else. I think they were counting on people being behind and him sneaking through, and they were right.
He missed 2 seasons. Like, he didn't play 2019 because he was still recovering from an injury. And then 2020 happened, and then he came in 2021 and he had a hamstring injury and he didn't play for a little bit there. So 2022 was his first full season in the minors. And you know what he did? It was in Double-A, and he kicked butt. He was good. And I know a lot of that maybe was part of his hot June and July, but no, he didn't have issues with left-handers. He didn't struggle against older competition, which I looked at the numbers there and I was like, he probably was one of the older guys in Double-A, so he probably didn't face a lot of older pitchers. He faced some and he did very well. So he should go to Triple-A and split time with Noel and first base in the outfield. And I don't know. I think he can make a name for himself this season for sure. All right. We got more coming up on the Guardians and Giants from Thursday. We couldn't get into the Friday show, some injuries, and some stuff on Sam Henches and TV news coming up after this.
Sorry, a little bit slow. And that fantastic sponsor today are our good friends over at FanDuel. We have FanDuel here at this point in the show. And FanDuel, they are an official betting partner of the NBA. They will, they have their no sweat first bet, which is $1,000 up to $1,000 that you get. That's a bonus bet back if your first bet doesn't win, up to $1,000. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from points scored and threes drained to props and points and rebounds and assists and exclusive bets like 2x3, 2 3-pointers scored in the first 3 minutes. Plus, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger parlay with the bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000. So not $1,001, not $2,000, up to $1,000 though back when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right. The Guardians and Giants played on Thursday.
Can I interrupt you and just say I was since people love it, I just want to say I was rooting against the Guardians in this one. I'm going to put that out. Like, absolutely. It's spring training. I root for players, not teams. And I was, I'll let you talk about the player in particular that I was very excited. One of those guys that I was a big believer in, but had health issues. And I'm hoping he gets a chance with the Giants. I was rooting against against
who cared? who cares who wins in a spring training game? Wins don't mean anything. But yeah, the first guy he's talking about is Raymond Burgos, who was the Guardians, or I guess he was the Indians' 18th round pick in 2016. Ton of injuries. He actually had a Tommy John out of college. So his first year in Cleveland, he was rehabbing. Did not make it to an affiliate until 2018. So he was drafted in 2016. Did not pitch in 2016. Did not pitch in 2017. Barely got out of Arizona in 2018. So his first real shot to pitch was 2019. And it was a good season in 2019, but he was hurt again with I think he had a stress fracture in his elbow or his forearm. Had issues. He just never got healthy, and he was actually so good last year as a reliever at high A Lake County at 23. He was probably their best reliever last year, if you don't want to count Davis Sharp at the end of the year, who was fantastic for them. But he was there all year. He pitched 69 innings, which was his most, 65 innings, which was his most all the minor leagues in his career. Relief was really good for him. Low to mid 90s fastball, good changeup, decent slider. Tough angle from the left side. I thought Burgos was a lot like Tristan McKenzie, to be honest with you. He was a guy who was very tall, very thin, was a little more raw than McKenzie, I guess. But he's listed at 6'5", 170. But he took a minor league deal with the Giants in the offseason because obviously Cleveland didn't protect him and they weren't going to play him. And the system was stacked against him. So he took a minor league deal. I don't blame him. Actually, Jeff, sad news to report, Raymond Burgos took the loss in the game today. He gave up a hit and an unearned run and a walk. So bummer news for Burgos there. But I hope he gets to make an impact with the Giants at some point. I am rooting for him. Great guy. By the way, first year in Lake County. I forget what year it was. I think it was 2019. As part of the media day, we were talking to Luis Oviedo, and Luis Oviedo didn't speak any English. Raymond Burgos, bilingual, translated for us. Puerto Rico native. So I will always be grateful to Raymond Burgos for translating for us, and hoping he ends up getting some time with the Giants this year. And the other guy, other people aren't going to really probably know, is Cade McClure. So Cade McClure was drafted by the White Sox a few years ago. He is a Mentor, Ohio native. He was actually the first athlete, high school athlete, I should say, that I ever interviewed when I started the News Herald back in 2014. His graduating year, I interviewed him ahead of the MLB draft, thinking he was going to get drafted. He did not, but it was a great interview, and I've been rooting for him ever since. And he is in the Giants bullpen in the minor leagues right now, and hopefully he has a chance to crack their bullpen too. So 2 pitchers on Thursday for the Giants have local ties. That was cool.
Yeah, was McClure in? No, he was Louisville, not Indiana, right?
Louisville, yeah. I have to go back and see how McClure even pitched, to be honest with you.
I thought I liked him coming out of Louisville quite a bit. I remember liking that pick. The White Sox have had some ups and downs with pitcher development. Honestly, it's kind of interesting to see because they were kind of a gold standard for a while. Not as much of late. But yeah, I mean, Burgos was that guy in 2019. It was Burgos, Lavastida, and Cody Morris were my 3 big helium guys throughout that year. Those were the 3 guys I talked about. So,
McClure had a good day. Yeah, me too. McClure had a good day. 2 innings pitched, a hit and a strikeout in the 5th and 6th inning. So he faced some of the Cleveland regulars. So good for Cade. As we wrap things up on the extra show here, there's a lot of stuff we didn't get to on the extra show. Let's just address this because we talked about it in the Thursday show, or the Friday show, I should say. The Gavin Lux injury has no impact on Cleveland. We could probably just stop that.
Same with the Rockies. And, I do want to throw this out there. The Brendan Rodgers injury does maybe open up playing time for a Guardians player. I mean, a former Guardians player. That might open up time for Nolan Jones. That trade has already happened. No, Nolan Jones won't play second, but Ryan McMahon will, which opens third base. So teams this isn't fantasy. You don't just make a trade because a guy gets hurt. A lot of teams, they have guys they like internally in the system. We don't know who their deep take guys are. We don't know who is ready to step in, but teams aren't rushing. So yeah, the Cleveland.
Let's be honest here. The Rockies are the strangest franchise on earth.
Yes.
So if you expect them to do one thing, they're going to do the other. So if you expect the Rockies this guy got hurt, it probably makes sense for them to make a trade. Well, they're not. So I don't know what to tell you. The Rockies don't ever make any sense to me. Made no sense why they traded for, or they signed Chris Bryant and why he went there. I don't know if it's about money, but whatever.
It was about money. That's why he went there. Yeah. In doubt, it's always about money.
Yeah. RSN TV news. So we've talked about this a couple times. It's been a pretty popular topic on here. I know people are asking how are you going to watch the Guardians this year, and people are wondering about what's going on. So there's some articles out there from Cutting the Cord and Streamable talking about how Bally's could be shutting down soon. It doesn't say how soon, but there is a lot of concern over that. And I hope our good friend Andre Knott and other guys are keeping their jobs despite this, honestly. But
yes.
I read one article that said MLB isn't 100% sure they're going to be able to find a cable option for this year. Like, it might be too late. We don't know. A lot of this could change. There's so much unknown. This is a very unprecedented situation. So don't take anything we're saying here as fact, because it didn't come from us, and we're just kind of regurgitating an article we read and stuff we found interesting that we thought you should know. And one of those was that MLB doesn't know if they'll have a cable partner. So we're talking about maybe just direct to consumer all year, which is through MLB TV. And then the other thing I saw this week was EW Scripps is in talks to take over NBA and MLB broadcast as RSN's flounder. So for those who are living in Cleveland or Cleveland area suburbs, EW Scripps is who owns WEWS Channel 5. So if that happens, that'd be great, because that would put Cleveland back on regular broadcast non-cable TV for the first time since WAB days.
Yeah.
Outside of a few WKYC appearances they made over the last couple of years. So I don't think that's anything that's going to happen. It's certainly not super optimistic. I'm rooting for everybody to keep their jobs and how they figure that out. But I don't know. MLB is trying to figure something out that looks like they have at least a content TV broadcast partner that's interested. I don't know if they'll hash that out. I think it certainly means less money. Like, whatever money EW Scripps, hypothetically pays for the broadcast rights certainly won't be as big as what they were expecting to get, but it's still something, and it still could get games in front of fans. And I'd be super excited if it would be on a local broadcast television versus a cable channel for non-cable subscribers. I can't tell you how people in my family I hear every year, like, whenever, because obviously I go to parties or family parties at the end of the year or over the summer, people ask me about baseball, and they're like, oh yeah, I can't watch them because I don't have, whatever package that comes with them. And that's all I hear from my family. So they're asking me about updates on the team. And then when the playoffs come around, like last year, they're like, oh, I got a free trial of this service so I could watch the games. That's all people are doing. It'd be great if like that games could be on a channel where people are like, oh, I get that channel.
That helps grow the NFL, right? Like, isn't they're kind of
right? That's what drives the NFL. Is they're on CBS, they're on Fox, they're on NBC. MLB only has that on Saturdays, and it's the game of the week on Fox, and then sometimes that's FS1. So like,
which like
at least locally for Cleveland, that would be a huge boom.
That was another one that was a huge thing for me as a kid, and having the pregame and the postgame on that as a kid, and like that was something I watched every game, every Saturday for that, and it's not always there anymore. And and like I said, I wouldn't be hosting this podcast if it wasn't for UAB. Another dream host. If anyone has a connection to Jack Corrigan, you would be a dream host, because that's the voice of my youth. That's who made me a baseball fan. Right. The one thing I do want to caution though, if we get this direct to consumer approach and it involves like an internet service, it's going to be a lot more expensive than you think.
Yeah,
it's going to be more than the current cost of MLB TV. It's going to be very expensive. I've heard a wide range of estimates, but don't think it's going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to pay like $50. I mean, I heard one person I was talking to that thought it might be $1 a game. So we'll have to see how pricey it gets. But it's like, well, if you're getting every game and we're doing production on every game, then you have to pay for it. So it's going to be expensive. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And our last comment or last topic of the bonus show, we can't go too long on the bonus shows either, but I did get my Baseball Prospectus annuals. I noted on Friday's show. I just wanted to share some comments in there. If you are a baseball nerd, I highly recommend buying the Baseball Prospectus Annual if you can. I know a lot of people who write for them, and I love this. And every year, it's one of my favorite things. Some of their player comments, I don't want to give the whole book away, but Juan Brito.
I've got my precursor to it right here, which last year I read on the show.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
The Scouting Notebook of 1998.
Nice. Yeah, I buy that every year, and I buy Baseball America's prospecting every year just because I like the collection. But Juan Brito's comparables were Emmanuel Valdez, which, okay, Tony Granadillo, and Mookie Betts. How about that? That's a fun one. I love the Andres Jimenez one. Who do you think Andres Jimenez first two comparables are? Like, think of who could they possibly be?
Are they second baseman?
One used to be a second baseman. He isn't anymore.
Is one Jose Ramirez?
Yes. And the other one is should sound very familiar to Clevelanders. And
Ronnie Belliard.
No, he's a shortstop.
I'm being a jerk.
That's a funny one.
That's just me.
Grady
Sizemore. I'm throwing out all the names of our show.
No, it is his first comparable is Francisco Lindor. The two best players the Indians have had, position player wise in the last decade, are compared to Andres Jimenez. I thought that was fun. And then I love this. Let me see who the writer was for the BP write-ups for prospects. Ken.
We should do like one of these a show from now on.
We should. Okay. Ken Funk and BP staff for Oscar Gonzalez. Now I'm going to sing this for you, so this is a real treat.
Okay.
Who plays in the outfield and wears a red C.
Oscar Gonzalez.
Free swinging and massive and clutchy is he.
Oscar Gonzalez.
If youthful exuberance be something you wish.
Oscar Gonzalez.
Then watch our young slugger stride to the dish.
Oscar Gonzalez. Oscar Gonzalez. Oscar Gonzalez. Right?
Great writing by the BP staff, by the way. Buy the book. It's great. I didn't want to give it away, but I thought that was worth noting. Anthony Santander and Stephen Moya and Dominic Brown are as comparable. So Anthony Santander, yes. Dominic Brown, sad face. Stephen Moya, sad face. And then I won't go into the pitcher comments, but I love that they said Tanner Bybee, the same things we've been saying about Tanner Bybee, like, oh, look at that. A guy who threw strikes, they turn into a hard thrower. Justin Campbell, oh, a guy who throws strikes, who they're going to turn into a hard thrower. Like, all the comments were like that about pitchers. So buy the book. We'll read more of these at some point. But anything 100%. Else? That's all I got for the post show, man.
No, it's just like it's getting closer and closer. Just enjoy it and enjoy it. Enjoy these games. Enjoy them. No, and in all actuality, yeah, and as always, comment below. Comments help drive the algorithm, so we appreciate all of them. I even respond to the spam ones. I do delete the ones that swear or use racial language, though. So let's avoid that. And let us know what you're thinking. What else you'd like to hear? I know we promised the Negro Leagues stuff. We're going to get to it. I kind of did not want to do it in February intentionally. So I do want to say that. We didn't forget that promise. We're probably going to have a segment next week. I didn't want to be like, it's Black History Month. Let's do a segment for that. I wanted to I did it because MLB, the show, was adding it in. So we'll get to it, but I also wanted to kind of intentionally avoid that. But Cleveland has such a rich history. It's going to be fun. Trust me. I've been Jeff Ellis on behalf of Justin. We want to thank you for listening, reading, reviewing, downloading, and all of the many comments and words of support. That's why you're getting the 6th episode, is a way to balance things out, which if you chop it up and you look at our episode length is like getting that bonus show every day. So thank you for listening, and go Guardians, go.